Hey, music community, Jeff back again, and yes, it is time for another of my CD collection. We ended last time at CON, and I did find one other CON that was left off last time. It was filed out of place, and that's Contraband. Like you can see, I got that from a thrift store. I still got the sticker on there. Contraband was like a super group. It had Bobby Blotzer and Michael Schenker and people like that. You know, people from one of those cool albums back then where they got a bunch of, you know, A-list rockers together and did one album. You know, Michael Schenker, Vixen, LA Guns, Ratt, all those guys. So anyway, that one I left off somehow got misfiled. So that's the last of CON. And then moving in next is we're going to just blow through some Alice Cooper. I don't have a ton of the old stuff. I definitely am more of a 80. I got into Alice Cooper closer to the, well, really closer to the 90s. So I don't have a lot of his early stuff when it was the Alice Cooper band, but I do have Welcome to My Nightmare, classic that you got to have. And then I got, you know, the 80s stuff is where I really kind of picked up with that. Constrictor, Raise Your Fist and Yell. Some of these I do have on vinyl. Trash. And this is kind of my favorite era. I wasn't much into it beyond that. Hey Stupid. This is literally one of the first major albums I got by him, was when he came back with this, and this is probably my favorite album. Just one of my favorite albums for sure. Love this album. Interesting enough, I guess Chris Cornell from Soundgarden was on that, and we're going to be talking about him in a minute. Live album here. Brutal Planet, one of the heaviest Alice Cooper albums, period. Dragontown, another amazing and heavy one from him. Then from there, he kind of went back into the less heavy and started kind of going more back into the shock rock type fun, sort of borderline punky stuff. But, you know, great album here. The Eyes of Alice Cooper, Dirty Diamonds. So, yeah, he kind of was starting to go back into a more classic sound. Along Came a Spider, and less into the really heavier stuff he was doing there at that time before. Live album, Theater of Death. Picked that up on vinyl not too long ago. Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare, the second part. Love this album. Man, if I could find this on vinyl, it is so expensive. But I love this album a bit. And then I do have, then is when I kind of started just buying stuff on vinyl, but I do have Breadcrumbs, and I have that on vinyl. And I picked this up on CD not too terribly long ago because it was a vinyl only 10-inch release, and then they finally put it out on CD with a couple bonus tracks. So I picked that up literally in the past 6 months probably. And then Detroit Stories, and then I have the newest album only on vinyl, so I don't have that on CD. Now, first off, we got Lanny Cordolla. Made no Lanny Cordolla. This is a solo album. It is all instrumental for the most part. House of Lords. He's been in a lot of other bands. Magdalene. Anyway, he was on Full House. He was in Jesse's band. Hey, we were watching Full House. My kids used to watch that show all the time, and we were watching it one day. And Jesse and the Rippers or something? Jesse and his band were out playing, and I'm like, oh, hey, that's Lanny Cordolla on guitar. And nobody in the house knew what I was talking about. But yeah, sure enough, Lanny Cordolla. Great stuff. Great instrumental album. I mean, he did a couple albums, and some had lyrics, vocals. And then I got some Chris Cornell. This is why I brought this up, because he was on the Alice Cooper. I got this Euphoria Morning and Carry On. And I admit, I did not buy these. These were bequeathed to me. My former singer for my band Hemo Theory, we did an album together, and it's on Spotify and all that stuff, but we were working on the second album. But anyway, he passed away before the second album ever got very far, aside from songwriting. And he was a big Chris Cornell fan. Big stuff. And so after he passed away, his wife said, you know, Jeff, there's a lot of music here. Why don't you and a couple of our other friends from former bandmates and stuff, why don't y'all come over here and go through it, because I have no need for it. So I accumulated a lot of his collection, and I still have a box out there. He was big into Seven Dust and other bands that I haven't filed into my collection. And then going into Corpus Christi, this is like a sampler. I don't have the Corpus Christi. I mean, this is a Christian band, of course, but they're like more of an extreme metal, metalcore type band. All right, moving on next. A band that nobody's going to be familiar with at all, probably. The first one is a band that's not in the C's, but Arkangel. The reason I filed this here, you'll see, is because of the artist that's the root behind this. But Arkangel, psych rock from the early 80s, but had a late 70s sound. just one of my favorite albums. It is a Christian album. Amazing stuff. Love the stuff. Turned onto this in the early 80s. But it's all behind, you know, Kemper Crabb is a singer-songwriter, multi-talented instrumentalist. He and I have the same birthday. So, I mean, different years, but so every year on Facebook, I'm like, happy birthday, July 27, boy. So, yeah. This is a worship type album using all medieval instruments, and it's just one of my favorites. Drives my wife crazy because she's not a big fan, but this album just touches me in so many ways. And then Arkangel is just so weird. She's not a big fan of that, but I just love it. And then over the years, he's put out some stuff that were demos and recordings. Over the years of stuff that he's done, he has some live stuff, a medieval Christmas, where him and some people got together and put on live concerts and recorded that stuff. I love all this stuff. Then he did an actual, in Yonder Forest, an actual studio Christmas album, which is on the live stuff. He played at Cornerstone, which is a big Christian festival. He played in Cornerstone in 2000. So I got that. I pretty much have everything to get my hands on. And then he had another, this is more live at the Rivendell Cafe. Got Arkangel stuff, and it's a little more stripped down, but great stuff. Love Kemper Crabb and his material. Here's a one-off Crash Rickshaw. I don't know a whole lot about this band. They are in the Christian realm. Sound a lot like Jane's Addiction to me in places. So they got that alternate feel. And basically a friend of mine at work was big into these guys. He's like, Jeff, you got to check them out. So I went out and picked up one of their CDs, and they're pretty good. This is more of the 90s alt type stuff that I didn't get a big kick out of a lot of it, but pretty cool stuff. All right, moving next into CR. We're going into Creed. We're going to do these backwards too. This is a symphony of Creed. This is a symphonic. They did a lot of these. I have one that's like a symphony type orchestrations of Dream Theater, but these were popular. They came out. I get them at Best Buy and Walmart all the time, and so I picked up the symphonic music of Creed. Just a reimagination where people are doing that. So of Creed stuff. All right, got My Own Prison, typical first album stuff, and then My Own Prison, the single. I was picking up singles back then because they were one of those bands that used to have B-sides that you couldn't get on the albums. Human Clay. I do not have any Creed on vinyl, though they have been those two have been reissued. Higher, the EP, again, they typically have acoustic and other unreleased stuff on it. Weathered. Don't Stop Dancing is a single from that. This is probably out of order, but with Arms Wide Open, maybe not. Again, more singles that have non-album tracks, so I pick them up. Bullets, another single, made in Germany. I picked up the Greatest Hits double set. Did not, again, don't have that on vinyl. I know it's out on vinyl. And then Full Circle. This was the reunion type album, and I did see them on tour for this. It was really cool back in the day. And then they, of course, did their thing and split up again. But all right, moving on. Crimson Glory. The only one I've got, I got this on, I do not have this on vinyl. I have the first album on vinyl and the second album on CD. Great band. Crimson Thorn. One of my extreme death metal bands. This is a anthology, has like three of their albums remastered and everything on there. Great stuff there. Crimson Bridge Ministry, a Christian band of hard rocking material that I acquired. Cross, I showed this on vinyl not too long ago. I picked this up on vinyl maybe 2 months ago. I was able to find it. This is the CD version that was put out overseas in Greece, I believe, in like 2006. Came out on CD and vinyl. I wasn't into vinyl at the time, so I didn't buy it. But then I found a copy recently in pristine condition, so I was so glad to finally have this. I love this. The band never did anything except some demos, and this is their demos brought out. I had their demo. I loved their demo back in the day. Great stuff. Love that. Another all demo band, Crossforce. This is a Christian band. Love these guys, and I was glad. This is an anthology. It's got all their demos and some live stuff and some other band stuff that's related to the singer. Tony Kreider, love his voice, loved everything about this band. He passed away of cancer a handful of years, well, before this album came out. So this is just a great anthology to have. They were, in my opinion, one of the best up-and-coming Christian hard rock and metal bands in the 80s that just never got signed. Sadly, never got signed. The Crucify, another Christian hardcore punk band, and this is a basically an anthology. It's got all of their albums, demos, and a bunch of other stuff in one packet. It was great stuff. I had a bunch of the individual albums, but when this came out, I was able to get rid of that and keep the main package deal there. Love those guys. Crucify. This is a local band, friends of mine, that put this out. Top notch, you know, melodic metal. The guitar player, and he does some vocals, but he's not the lead singer on here, was also in a band called Monument, local band. They put out a couple stellar albums, in my opinion. They were 100% just 80s purebred, melodic, high vocal metal. Well, then, you know, he's a shredder, and I've jammed with them before. But anyway, so this is a band that he did. Crumbacher, some Christian synthwave type pop. This, I believe, is probably a bootleg because it's 2-in-1. It's got their first album, Incandescent, and it's got Escape from the Planet. Love both these albums. One of the pop bands of the 80s that I really resonated towards. All right, moving into the next band, we've got Crunchy. Loserville. You can see it says To Jeff, signed Monty Colvin. This is the bass player from Galactic Cowboys, one of my favorite bands. And after Galactic Cowboys broke up, he did Crunchy. He sings and plays bass and has a band. Fun, funky, amazing, great stuff. Bought this from a site. It's got an autograph there. Clown School Dropout, another album by him. Now, these would be some great things to see on vinyl one day, but who knows. All Day Sucker. I used to have a t-shirt with that on it. It had a baby crying on the front that Monty painted. If you remember, when I showed Galactic Cowboys albums a while back, I said all of the artwork was done by the bass player. Well, Monty is a bass player. He didn't do the artwork. He did do this. That's the kind of artwork he did. So he has done all the paintings for all the Galactic Cowboy covers. So, and they have a new album coming out. And sadly, just about 2 days ago, the new drummer for the Galactic Cowboys passed away. It was mentioning Kemper Crabb earlier. He was real good friends with Kemper Crabb. They all lived in the Texas area. And Kemper Crabb posted on Facebook how his good buddy passed away just unexpectedly. And then it was like later that evening that I found out that that was actually the guy who was recently joined Galactic Cowboys as their drummer for the new album that they just finished recording for the Kickstarter program. So I believe they were all done, you know, recording it, and then this guy it just was mysterious, so he just passed away. I haven't heard any details beyond that. Sad news though, but Monty is part of the Galactic Cowboys. Cry Mercy, I got this as an Australian import. I believe it might be an Australian hard rock band of the Christian ilk there. Crystal City Rockers. This is actually, it's not a Christian band, but David Safiro and JT Taylor went on to do Bloodgood after this, but this was kind of like their band, and I can't say they're not Christian. I just don't think they were marketed as that. Anyway, the material was later brought up because Bloodgood, you know, became a big thing. A handful of years ago, somebody said, hey, let's put this out. And it's just good old-fashioned rock and roll, but it shows a different side, a slightly lighter side of those two guys who later went on to be the heart and soul of Bloodgood for a while. Okay, moving on next, we got Crystavox. All right, the bottom line, this is the second Crystavox album. I have these on vinyl. This is a Christian band, really just straightforward 80s type metal. The 20-year mix, Crystavox. I believe this is the first album. Now I'm drawing a blank. I believe this is the first album, and it is the 20-year mix, and it comes with the DVD of extra material, which is cool. And then it had a bonus 20-year mix bonus disc that came with it at the time, and it's got 7 previously unreleased demo type songs, I believe, is what they mainly are. So cool stuff there. Oh, there it is, the first Crystavox album. So yeah, okay, this is the actual album. Great stuff there. These have all been reissued, remastered recently. Great stuff. Rick Cua, You're My Road. Rick Cua was the bass player for the Outlaws for a while, and then he started doing Christian rock. And so this is his delving into the Christian rock scene. Cua, and this was some of the stuff I cut my teeth on in the mid 80s because he was one of the people that was out there. You know, he's not hard rocking, but he can get hard. But it was rock enough to where I really got into it. No mystery. And again, these have all been, I think, Girder Music remastered all these in like the past year or two and put them out. Absolutely one of the heavier of the albums. Wear Your Colors, one of my absolute favorites. Love. This is an album I cannot seem to find. Is this the one I don't have on vinyl? One of my all-time favorite albums by Rick Cua, and I remember for the longest time I could not find it on vinyl. Can't Stand Too Tall, and it might be this one. One of these two albums, which are two of my favorite albums, I believe, I have to go back and look, I believe are one of the ones I don't have on vinyl. These may be out of order because I'm not sure. Midnight Sun. And this one is weird. So this is Within Reach, and I one day I took it out to play it, and all of a sudden the case disappeared. And I never could find the case. Never found the case. So I just threw it in this. I had the case. I don't know where the case went, and now I don't have the case. Won't Fade Away. This is the much later one, and it's definitely a little more adult, contemporary. Definitely not as edgy at times as the early stuff. And then the last one, In the Seas. We're done with the Seas. Is Michael Cutting, Unspoken. Michael Cutting, guitar player from Holy Soldier, one of the best 80s Christian metal bands back in the day. And not too terribly many years ago, somewhere in the past 10 years, 2016, he put out a solo album, and it's rock. It's straight, you know, he does the singing and the vocals, so a little different, but great stuff. I got a copy of this from him in order to review for the magazine, which I did with great honor. So there you go, all the C's. We are done with the C's. We'll move into the D's next time around, whenever that happens to be. And until then, I will see you later. Rock on and rock hard.